You're on CYInterview.
I'm Chris Shandek. Today on CYInterview, he's live from Key West, where he has a home. We welcome back frequent CYInterview guest, New York Times best-selling author, and current Mississippi State head football coach, Mike Leach. Mike, thanks for joining us from the wonderful warm weather of Key West and Jimmy Buffett. How are you? How's everything going?
I'm doing good. How are you doing? I'm riding my bike right now, so that part's good. And then, so just kind of going on patrol, sightseeing, and getting a little exercise.
Yeah, absolutely. No denying that. So before we talk about any football, every off-season you like to travel outside of America. I believe this year, if I'm not mistaken, you've been to both Dubai and Zanzibar. Tell me where you've been this year. What have you learned along the way traveling the world?
Well, let's see. We went to Dubai. Then went to Tanzania. Zanzibar was a city, of course, we stopped at. Zanzibar, one of those historical cities of legends, and it was really pretty compelling just thinking about the history that place has had. And then Tanzania, where we did several safaris as far as not hunting animals, but looking for animals to check them out and look at them. And then saw a ton of animals, like a crazy amount. And then saw a crazy amount of animals. And then so it was really good. And then, so that was pretty good.
Did you learn anything? Like, did anything stand out for you?
I learned a ton. I learned a lot about those animals. I learned a lot about how big and vast not just Tanzania is, but the Serengeti. And then I learned, it did a lot of it just kind of checking stuff off the bucket list to see as much as you can, and some of it is kind of comparable with your your impression, and some of it's quite different.
Sure.
I would have to say for the most, there's always surprises. No matter what, there's always surprises. And, I liked Africa a lot. I thought the people were incredibly friendly. I thought that, just seeing something like all those incredible animals in their natural habitat is just off the charts.
Sure.
And then, it was really a cool experience there,
Sure. Now that you've been in Starkville for approximately 18 months or so, how does it feel to be at a new coaching stop?
It's a lot of fun. I don't feel like I have the full feel yet, because last year was such an atypical year. And, the biggest battle you have with your players and everybody is getting acquainted. You get acquainted, teach everybody what you want out of them, what you expect out of them, and then they kind of carve out their roles and get in a rhythm to try to elevate their roles. And, I thought that the entire season, for us anyway, that was a work in progress. We were the youngest team in the BCS, so under the best of circumstances, that was going to be a challenge, and I think it was a challenge for everybody. But, we've gotten a lot better, and the younger players are, the quicker they get better. So, we're really excited about that. We've had some great work in the off-season, and, we have most of our players back. So many are coming back because they're all freshmen. I say they're all freshmen. I lose track of what year everybody is nowadays because they all get the year back because of COVID. But, COVID was a very joyless period that that, I thought that the season and, what we were allowed to do provided a refuge from portions of that, but it was, there was a lot of stop and start, and, you were lining up waiting for go a lot, only to have change and adjustment, and I think everybody wants it to be as safe as we can, and then I think, there's a portion of others that like being hall monitors a little too much, and so I think we're both benefiting and suffering from both,
What are you most looking forward to from Season 2, and what are you most concerned about?
Most looking forward to how much, our guys will improve and blend together as a team. Most worried about that, really, that because we're still a very young team, that we can quickly evaluate, quickly assess, who's doing what and who's developing and who's improving, because it'll all be moving targets, and the quicker you identify it, the quicker you can utilize it as a resource. So just that we're really vigilant as far as identifying where a guy's at, what he can do, and reaching him the best way that we can to coach him so that they can, really elevate their talents.
Fan bases in the Southeastern Conference, as you know, have very high expectations. What are your hopes for the fan base this year?
Well, they'll have high expectations. Their expectations will be extremely high. They won't be higher than us as coaches and our players, but they'll be high, and we appreciate that, and that's what makes it an honor to play in front of them, and I think that's all part of it. You don't want fan bases with low expectations, and I've had those before, which that presents its own set of problems a little bit, and those problems are, just creating that expectation among your players. I mean, regardless of what folks on the outside think, I mean, you as a team and as a coaching staff and coaches and players have to have high expectations for yourself, and sometimes that's not, like when I first got to Texas Tech and Washington State, they lost enough that their expectations to win weren't particularly high, and and they love to reflect on these really fiercely contested losses, that they'd say that was almost like a win, just kind of some cop-outs here and there, which I did not find to be beneficial to us at all. And so you've got to change the message in your room so that, it becomes, clear what your expectations are. And I think, they have to be realistic, but they have to be high. I mean, there's a fine line between somebody says, well, this isn't realistic. Well, stuff that's never happened before happens all the time.
Sure.
So who's saying what's entirely realistic? I mean, somebody's going to upset somebody's going to break a record, somebody's going to, a number of players are going to do something they've never done before. So why wouldn't it happen for us, and why wouldn't we reap the benefits of such? And so, I think you've got to keep the expectations high without putting a ceiling on it, and then, I think you've got to be careful about, especially if you're a part of a team or somebody that's struggled in the past, you've got to get your team to kind of transcend the public expectations and the media expectations. And the media expectations, of course, are false on their face. And especially nowadays, I mean, it's worse now than ever. It's tough because media's a key element to to kind of weave the story and the team experience from the games, through the players, coaches, to the fans, which elevates it and allows everybody to embrace it. But nowadays, a lot of times, a lot of guys will write just what they wish would have happened, without any regard whatsoever of what actually did or who did this or who didn't do that,
Yeah.
And in some cases, used to be you'd get a certain amount of that just because of laziness. Some guy's just lazy, right? Just reads it on the computer or calls his buddy, hey, what happened in the game, and then writes an article. But now, in some cases, I think it's more malicious than that. I mean, the guy may as well have written the article before the game was ever played, because that was the article he's going to write anyway,
Yeah. In this off-season, when it comes to the air raid offense, have you made any additions, adjustments to the offensive scheme after what you witnessed in Season 1? Will we see some new things on the field this year?
Yeah, we always make a certain number of adjustments. That's always been the case, and that's also why it's been adopted more recently than any other offense, and why the NFL for the last 10 years, the guys that have played in the Super Bowl have all run a certain amount of air raid concepts. Football and any portion of it's always had a certain amount of adjustments, but, those are kind of best dictated by your players and the best ways to feature their abilities, And so, yeah, I think that's always, something that happens and goes on and stuff like that. And then, so I think it happens throughout. I think it's something that constantly grows and adjusts and things like that. And it has since the day that Hal Mummy and I developed it.
Oh, no denying that. I mean, there's just no denying that. So moving forward, one last question about Mississippi State, then we'll have some fun topics. What is the progress of quarterback Will Rogers in the second season? What are your hopes for him?
He's really competitive, and then every time I talk to him, he's watched something on film or he's gone out there and thrown, and he's a guy that is constantly working when no one else is working. He's a freshman, and fortunately for him, unfortunately for us as a team, I guess, he had to start as a freshman. And I thought he really did an admirable job. I thought he played quite impressively, and then so he continues to get better, and he's real competitive to the point that he kind of elevates the players around him. And then Jack Abraham's got the most experience as far as having played quarterback, as far as Division I snaps. And so they fought it out in the spring, and I think it'll continue to be a war at camp.
Gotcha.
But I think either of them are hard to beat out. But Will just, and his father's a coach, but Will's focus and work ethic is ahead of what most young guys have. And then the other, of course, then Jack's got the reps to John, a little more experience. So in the end, we'll see what happens between those two. We got two real promising freshmen and another younger guy.
Gotcha. Okay, two last fun questions for you, bonus round questions. Should your longtime friend, actor Matthew McConaughey, run to be the governor of Texas?
That's up to him. That's really up to him, and in the end, up to the people. He said something pretty smart, which, the people kind of decide that.
Would that be exciting for you to see him run?
Yeah. I mean, not to duck the question, but if it's exciting for him to, I mean, if he's got something to say and got a vision and that type of thing, then it's exciting for him, and he fully embraced it would, you know. I don't know that that's going to happen. It's a lot of times, as soon as somebody doesn't deny they're running for something, if somebody asks, are you running for this or that, and they don't deny it, well, then they immediately assume they are.
Yeah.
Just for the record, I haven't denied that I'm running for every office that I'm eligible for.
Very good.
But I'm probably not.
Very good.
So we'll have to see what happens, you know.
Very good. So it wouldn't be a Mike Leach CY interview without asking you, have you seen any good movies recently?
You know, to be honest, I haven't. And I wish I had better news for you. I haven't seen any that I felt were great. The best one I saw, the best one that I've probably seen this year is what's it called? You know, the guy on Better Call Saul. It's called like Nobody or something.
Gotcha.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
What actor was in it?
Odenkirk, or the guy that plays Better Call Saul. The guy that was the attorney on Breaking Bad. That guy.
Let's check and see if I can figure this out for you.
I think it's Bob, and I think it's pronounced Odenkirk.
So you're talking about James Morgan McGill was the actress. That's who you're talking about.
Yes.
So let's take a look while we're pulling up here.
So the actor's name is Odenkirk or something like that.
Yeah, give me 1 second, and I will gladly get that for you.
This thing came out in the midst of that COVID stuff, so I don't think too many people saw it.
Yeah.
But it was by far the best show I've seen this year, which I think is unfortunate. Now, granted, a bunch of things kind of got shut down, and they didn't.
Yeah. I think
they didn't do as much as they would have ordinarily.
Yeah. I would just say this. I think the holiday season is going to be very good for the movies. I think things will be back to normal in November, December. There's a bunch of things lined up that have basically been put to the side for a year and a half. But I guess if you're not in tune with the Amazon Prime Video or the Netflix or the Hulu on an ongoing basis, I guess there really weren't any movies to see this past year.
Well, but I thought that was the best one, and I'm sure there's others. I think what else. And
watch any good TV shows recently, maybe?
Kind of been in a drought, too. Well, let's see, what do I watch? I watch Yellowstone for sure. I'm looking forward
Kevin
to
Costner, yeah, sure. I've had one of the actors on from that. I've had one of the actors on from that show. Great show.
Yeah, who'd you have on?
Let's take a look here very quickly. There's so many people that are on CYInterview. I want to make sure I get pronunciations right. So we had on Denman Richards, who he's been on the show, I think, since the beginning, if I'm not mistaken. Very nice gentleman. We had him back on in 2019. Had great things to say about Kevin Costner. Right. So, great show on, I believe I think it's on the Paramount Network, if I'm not mistaken. Or the one, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, it is, actually. I'm looking here right now at the article we did back with him. Anything else, Coach?
Yeah, so I watched Yellowstone, anxiously awaiting that. They say Ozarks is coming back. That'd be good. I heard good things about a series called Heist, which I guess they're just documentaries about. I
just started watching that, actually. It's very interesting. It's about basically these different people who pulled off these these gigantic robberies of things that are worth lots of money. Like a few of them, they're like one of them, the people stole $7.4 million, like from the Miami International Airport, like in the broad daylight with like no security. Unbelievable. And then there was another one where a woman literally drove away a bank truck with like $3 million in it, and basically fled the country with her boyfriend, if you can believe that, after only being 3 weeks on the job.
So it was pretty good.
Yeah, they're different little documentary series, which they're 2 parts, so they're like both 40 minutes each. But they're very interesting. I've watched the first 2, and I've got to watch one more actually. But they're pretty fascinating. Absolutely, they're worth watching. It's amazing what people can pull off, and how certain things are not protected as well as they should be. You think that people would be guarding millions of dollars much more securely, but not so much in these 2 cases. It's kind of fascinating.
I watched the pirate one. I watched that's just a documentary on pirates.
Mm-hmm.
I watched. I watch American Greed, which is kind of like episode.
Oh, I love that. I watch that every week, Coach. Fabulous on CNBC.
Let's see. I watch Blacklist.
Mm-hmm.
I watch Making Afraid some, but I'm behind. I'm definitely behind.
Not surprising.
Well, I got sidetracked with the XL.
Yeah.
Kind of the all-star ones. And then, let's see, what else? Oh, the one that I keep wanting to watch and heard so many good things about is a show called Queen's Gambit.
Yep, I've heard of it, and I haven't watched it either. But I've heard of it, sure.
A lot of Stranger Things fans, which I've never watched that.
Yep.
Have you ever watched that?
No, I've not watched that either.
Yeah.
Watch the heist one, though. I recommend it. You'll find it very interesting. It's like another version of American Greed, but much longer.
Oh, wow.
And more in depth.
Like, now this was even further back, but a great show, and it was a documentary. And it takes like 2 hours, and even though they're pretty much just sitting there, it's outstanding. And it's called, what's it called? It's called, Operation Odessa.
Have to write that down.
Operation Odessa. So this guy decides that he's going to steal. We got to go left here. This guy decides that he's going to This guy decides that he's going to it's a series of international criminals and hustlers and bullshit like that, right?
Yeah, sure.
And then, so they decide, when the Soviet Union crashes, they decide they're going to cut a deal with Pablo Escobar to buy a submarine so he can more efficiently ship drugs in. And the whole thing actually happened, Yeah. I mean, it's a true story. And one of the guys they still haven't found yet. So, no, it's good. Operation Odessa.
We'll absolutely have to look into that, Coach. As always, thank you so much for joining us on CYInterview. Anything you want to add in closing before we wrap up this segment?
No, it's all going good, and just keep an eye on Washington State, and not Washington State, but Mississippi State, and we're excited to tee it up and finally get out there playing,
Oh, absolutely, no denying that. And say hi to Jimmy Buffett for me in Key West for sure.
So I see him, and honestly, I know people all around him, and I've nearly seen and met him a number of times. I've never met him one time.
Yeah, wow. Well,
everybody around me knows him. I've never met him. Of all the people I've met over and over randomly, like unlikely to me. It's almost impossible I haven't met him, never met him.
Well, we'll have to make note of that in this CY interview, and maybe we could work out something on that front for sure. Coach, hang on with me, and thanks so much as always for being on CY interview.